crochet crowd. Inspire, create, and celebrate. Let's learn something.
Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd. I'm your host, Mikey. Today I'm going to show you the best of two worlds. Hands down, I don't care what anybody tells me, using Red Heart Scrubby is one of the best scrubbers I've ever used in my life. The shower scum that comes off with using this yarn is phenomenal, even according to my own personal research on buying stuff you could buy at the store when you can actually get this and actually crochet with it. So what I'm thinking to myself, which I've done before, is that if you combine it with a cotton yarn like Lily Sugar and Cream or Bernat Handicrafter and put the two strands together, it's not as hard on your hands. We are going to demonstrate a knit stitch today using Tunisian. So you need a longer hook like this, so you can't use the ones that are having the throat. Okay, so you need a long one, and what we're going to do is demonstrate on how to do this for beginners. So we're going to make a really easy dishcloth, and we're going to put both of these yarns together as if they're one, so we're essentially making up our own yarn as we go. Without further ado, let's get started. So I'm recommending both of the balls we just reach into the center and somehow just try to find the middle. And I know this is called yarn barf when you pull it out like this, but you can see now there's just one strand, so the end is here somewhere. So I'm going to do that so that I don't have any tension coming from the ball, because any more tension with this being a scrubby, it'll take off your skin. So let's not have that. And the other ball I also took from the center really quite easily. Let's put these two together and let's start. So put both strands together as if they're one. So put in your mind that you're just using one strand and you're going to create your first slip knot. So we're just going to create a little bit of a longer tail so that we can use to hide that in later. So let's create a slip knot. So we do have slower tutorials available on techniques of stuff like that of a slip knot. And chances are if you're doing Tunisian, you're not brand new to crochet. So we're going to just put both of those loops through this. This is a 6mm size J Afghan hook. You could call it a Tunisian hook too. You can find stuff like this. This one happens to be double-ended. I don't need the double-ended, but this is what I have in my collection today. We're going to begin, and we're just going to put this into our hands and begin our beginning chain. For Tunisian, it's best to hold your hook in the center point than it is to stay on one side because of the weight balance of the hook. And so you'll notice that you're moving your hands up and down the shaft in order to get the balance. So we need to chain total of 26. So this first one on here does not count as one. So we're just going to start. So we're going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 25, and 26. Now, because we are going to do the knit stitch, this is not going to stay as wide as you see it. It's going to severely condense on itself, and we're going to begin the process of doing Tunisian next. To do Tunisian, we're going to, in the first chain, we want to get the back loop only of this so that we have a nice edge to work with later. So we're just going to insert your hook into the back loop. Remember that there's always two strands in there because we're using the two different colors or two different yarns at the same time. We're going to yarn over, pull through, and push it down to the shaft. So this here is the head, the throat, the shaft. The shaft is what's dictating the size of the stitch. So just move down and grab the next one. Once you get the back loop of the first one, the chain stays upside down, and so you're just going to get the back loop of the next chain. Yarn over and push. Next chain. Yarn over and push. So you're really using your left hand or this hand, depending if you're right or left-handed. You're using that more often than you are using moving this around. So you're going to keep on going down and collecting all of these chains here. This is called a forward pass because the hook is moving forward to collect the stitches. In this case, it's the chain work right now, and that'll change in the future because we only have the chain at the beginning spot, right? So you're going to keep on going. Just put me on pause, and I'll see you at the end of this row in just a moment. So you keep on going. You notice that I move my hand even further back for balance. And so it's not one of those kind of hooks that you always stay choked up at the top. If you get addicted to this concept, you're welcome. Could be worse addictions in your life. And you're going to come right to the last chain that you have. So if you're confident, you're going to have how many stitches on board. So everything is in groups of 2. See how they're working together. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Notice that we chained 26 to start. We have 26 loops on here because we've done a forward pass. Let's do our return pass. When you do Tunisian, the forward pass and the return pass is considered one row. So when we do the return pass, the chain up of a stitch usually happens on this side and we continue to go across, but on Tunisian, it's actually on this side going backward. So we're going to yarn over and pull through just one loop. Just consider these two as one loop. So pull through one. That is considered your chain 1 to get the height that you need. And now the rest of these are really, really fun. How fun? Watch. You're going to yarn over and just pull through 2 sets. Okay, so you just pull through 2. Because I'm double stranding, it looks like there's 4, but there's only 2. And you're going to keep doing that. So just yarn over and just pull that project off the end. Okay. And so this technically, what you just saw is considered the, okay, so if I made a mistake there, which I did, I grabbed too many strands, so we're just going to reset. So in this particular concept, it's not like knitting where you screw up and, you know, you just create cuss words. You're gonna yarn over, pull through. Okay, so I prefer to leave that in the video just in case that happens to you. There's always a solution when it comes to the crochet or Tunisian like this. Just make sure that you're always grabbing the 2 sets that belong together as one loop. So the next pass that we're going to do when we go forward, we're going to start doing the knit passes, which you see the original sample to look like. Now, because the cotton is going with the scrubby, it's not as hard on my hands as if it was a scrubby on its own. So because it's kind of twisting on its own and just changing positions around, it kind of eases the tension on my skin. But how it rips off that soap scum is amazing. So you're going to keep on going until there's 1 loop left, which is now. And we're now going to begin the knit stitch going forward. To do the knit stitch going forward, or Tunisian itself, the first loop is never done. You're just going to leave it because this here is considered the loop. It's already here. So normally in Tunisian, we do what is called as a simple stitch, and we put the hook and we just collect the 2 verticals that are in behind like so, and then we yarn over and pull up and collect going all the way across. That's a simple. But what we want to do for knit stitch, which will make this tighter and even better scrubby, is that when you go in to the middle, just push it out to the back side. So it goes all the way through the fabric. Yarn over, pull through, and push it down the shaft. And what this is doing is turning the stitches sideways so that it looks like it's knit. So the next one, so this would be the knit stitch. Sorry, this would be the simple stitch if you did it like this. But if you go into that and just push it out to the back, it turns the stitch sideways. So you're going to notice in a couple rows down the road is that this will look like it's actually truly knitted and people think you're a knitter. So going in on an angle towards the back. So if you need to see the knit stitch without all the extra yarn, we do have those tutorials available to you here on the channel. Okay, so you're just going to keep on going. And once you do this first one, it gets much easier too. So I want you to go through, and what I need to do is show you how to handle that last loop over here, because the way that you finish going across is different than what you just learned in the first one. And we want to make sure that the edges stay balanced, and that will be your next tip in a moment. So continue to go across doing the knit stitch. So I'm making sure I'm going all the way across, and the very last one, I found with myself when I learned Tunisian, I did not know this trick in the end, and somebody showed me. And because of it, I was getting these really unsightly gaps in the end of my project on this side of the work. And it was because of the way that I was handling the last loop, which I'll show you in a second. So if you end up with that, chances are you're not in on the tip that people know. So I have one more stitch to do. Okay, so if I go in and try to do this as a knit stitch going through, it's going to create a gap. So what you need to do is that you knew that you chained one when you came and did the return pass. You need to nail that chain one. So you're going to go in through and you're going to turn it sideways, and you have to get a regular stitch on there. So it's going to consist of both loops of the pink and both loops of the other color. So you're just going into that chain one that you created before, and you yarn over, pull through. And what this will do is that it'll create the most perfect edge you ever saw. And now we're going to do the return pass. So the return pass is everything that you've already known from the last part. So we yarn over, we pull through just one loop only. Okay. And now we just yarn over and pull through two all the way back to the very beginning. You're going to feel the fabric in your hands is really densing up, very much like your house dance. And just continue just to yarn over and pull through two loops all the way back to the start. And I'll be right back in a moment. I'm returning passing right to the end, and I pull through the two until there's one loop left. So one side looks like the back side of knitting, the other side looks like a stocking knit stitch. So we're going to do the forward pass like you already showed you before. You're going to see that the stitches are starting to line up here. So you start with this one here because this loop is already part of the edge. So it's the second one in, just going into that one and pushing right through to the back. And collect it and keep on doing that all the way through. Now that you've done it once before, these are a lot easier to get into, because the stitches are already kind of partially turned to make it easier for you to get into. Okay, so you're going to do the knit stitch all the way through. I'll review the end once again, and I'll see you back here in a moment. So coming back across, and we want to handle that last stitch like I showed you before by turning and getting that chain one. I know it's harder to see on camera here. Okay, so what we want to do is that we want to get that chain one here in the end. So there should always be two loops of each of those on the end. Yarn over, pull through, and then we do the return pass. So we yarn over, pull through one loop, and then we yarn over, pull through twos all the way back to the other side. So it's really critically important that you get that edge one so that you don't end up with that unsightly gap that's really noticeable and might destroy your use of this scrubby in the sense of it kind of being too loose on the one edge, especially if you're using it to scrub. So just continue to go back and forth as many times as you need. Remember, the bigger the cloth that you make, the longer it will take to dry. And of course, you're going to want to hang this to dry in between uses as well. And so I do that, and I use these for my shower, and they do a really, really, really good job. Okay, so just continue to go back and forth until you're done. So I'm now finished. I only have 5 inches done, but you can see that I still got a lot more yarn to do. The larger you do a cloth, the longer it takes to dry. So 5 inches is long enough that I can just fold it in my hand and just use it as a scrubby. You can use the front or the back, it doesn't matter, but because it's really quite a tight stitch. Now to finish this thing off, we need to do what is called a cast off or a bind off, and we're going to be doing that process next. To do the cast off, we want to maintain the knit stitch from what we've been doing. And so we're going to go through all the way to the back side. So we're going to go as a forward pass to bind off, yarn over, pull through, give it a little bit of slack, and then pull through the existing loop. And you're going to do that all the way across. So if you bind off doing Tunisian simple stitch, it changes the look completely. So you just keep on going. The trick with the bind off is the bind offs can be relatively tight, so you just do want to make sure that when you pull through, just give it a bit of extra slack and pull through, and you're going to keep on doing this till you get to the other side. So I'm coming to my last stitch. I want to handle it the same way of just going in through the side of the chain 1, yarn over, pull through, and through. So that's it. So what I want to do is cut that yarn and cut it long enough that you can put it through a tapestry needle. You're not going to want to weave it in with your hook. So just pull this yarn through that loop to lock it so it doesn't unravel. So what we have to do is we have to grab our tapestry needle, and I like securing it on the back side. And just kind of securing it, and I'm just going to create the initial knot, really gets it stuck, and then I'm just going to go back and forth. So don't just go between the strands, go between plies. Okay, and you're just going to go back and forth 3 times, and you'll do each of the strands on its own. So I would not do it together. So each strand has its own path. So if they start wiggling out, they're not connected to each other on the same path. They're in the same area, but they're not side by side. So you weave in your ends, good to go. Heat up that shower and get that all done. Spray on your soap, and you got a new scrubby. And then at the end, you want to hang this to dry. You have that. So it will curl on you. I don't care. It's a scrubby, and it's really nice and thick and good to go. This is the Knit Stitch with Tunisian, and I'm your host, Mikey. We'll see you again another time.